Imagine we're launching a company, a cafe called Nebula Coffee. We're putting our heart into this. We have a supply chain to build and a brand to grow. If you ask a standard AI chatbot to tell you the trends for the coffee industry in 2026, it's going to give you a very polished answer. It'll be confident, it'll be helpful, but because of how these tools are designed to predict the next likely word, they sometimes prioritize being helpful over being factual. We often talk about AI guessing or drifting away from the facts. It's not a flaw, it's just how they process language. They're incredible creative partners, but they aren't naturally fact checkers. I've started using a tool called NotebookLM. The difference is most AI is like a giant library where the books are constantly changing. NotebookLM is your personal study room. You bring the books, you lock the door, and the AI only uses what you've provided. Today, we're going to build the personal study for Nebula Coffee using NotebookLM. We'll take our multiple research sources and turn them into a professional pitch deck, a competitor analysis, and an infographic. So let's get to work. First thing to do is to head to notebooklm.google.com. And when you create a new notebook, it will open up and look like this. It looks a little bit overwhelming, but I'll just give you a quick overview so we can walk through this and understand what the process is. On the left, we've got the add sources. Think of your sources as your own personal library. We add the sources in here, and that becomes what the AI references. These can be PDFs, so unstructured data. They can be Excel spreadsheets, so structured data. They can be website links. Anything that you want to add here, you add to the sources on the left-hand side, and that becomes the source of truth for your notebook. Then we've got a chat window in the middle here. So that's more like using Gemini or Copilot. You can talk to your notebook about the sources that you've got in on the left-hand side over here. And then on the right, this is where the fun starts. We'll come to that in a little bit, but these are all of the outputs that you can create based on the sources that you have here over on the left. The first sources that I'm going to add by clicking this button here is to add in the websites. So these are real coffee shops. So if you're in the London area, feel free to visit these. So you can see over here now, it's adding these in. And we've got one here that's come up as being red. This often happens if they have some sort of software that prevents AI crawling their website or a blocker, which is absolutely fine. You might get 15% of these will come back as red. So what you can do here is if it's empty, we'll just click on the left-hand bit over here and you can click remove source. But if you've got multiple, you can remove all failed sources. But as we've only got one, we'll click on remove source. And then we've got all of these websites as our sources now. The next thing that I'm going to do, we can add another source. And what I want to do here is add in some links from our Google Drive. In our previous video, which I'll link to at the top here now, we built out a business strategy, we built a logo, and then we developed our website. So if you want to learn how to do that bit in Gemini, see the link above. But what we're going to do now is add those sources as our source of truth for our own notebook to be able to reference that. So I'm just going to do this off screen quickly, but what you do is click on Drive, and then that will open up the window and you can select the relevant files. So you can see on the left-hand side now, we've got all of our sources set up for our notebook, and we've got a nice summary over here. Now in this next section, what we'll do the fun stuff. We'll start creating the competitor analysis, the infographic, and the pitch deck as well, so we can speak to our investors about what our business does and how we can attract local clients. In this part, we're going to create the assets from the sources that we've created over here on the left. You'll see next to each of these options here, you can click on the main button itself, and the AI, the Notebook LM, will assume to know what you want the output to be. You click on that and it will create a slide deck from all of these sources. If we want the output to be more customized, we'll click on the little edit pencil next to each of these, and then you can add in your own prompt. On the data table that we'll create for the competitor analysis, we're going to enter in this prompt. So in this prompt, what we're telling it to do is to look through the websites, and then we want it to give us an output to see, are they a close competitor? Do they focus on the core mission that we do? How involved with the community are they? All of the things that we're going to be focused on as a business. And then when we click generate, it will then create our data table over here on the right-hand side. And now that it's created the data table, we'll open it up, and you can see here, it's given a bit of an overview of our own business based on the business strategy and our website. And then it's looked through the other cafes as well that we're linked to in the sources and given us an overview of them as well. So what are their level of community engagement? What's our unique value proposition in comparison to them? Once we're happy with the table, we can then go export to Sheets. We can save that to our drive. And instead of having scoured all of these websites and done it manually, In seconds, we've got a competitor analysis that will talk us through where we need to position ourselves based on our values and our business strategy. The next bit that we'll move on to is the pitch deck. So we want to get some investment from investors. We'll put in a prompt to develop the pitch deck. The pitch deck is going to be a slide deck. Again, we'll click on the edit pencil and then we can give it a customized input to be able to give us an output that we'll find much more valuable. Click on the edit pencil and it brings up this screen here. In this section, what we want is presenter slides. So clicking on presenter slides, it'll be a little bit more visual, it'll be less text heavy. We're going to leave this on default. You can change the language if you want. And this box here is where I'll put the prompt in. So we're putting this prompt in and then we'll click generate. And just like the data table, it will go and look at all of these sources and create a pitch deck based on the prompt that we've just given it. And now on the right hand side, we've got our pitch deck. So let's open it up and take a look. I really like this. It's really captured the essence of our minimalist approach, the local feeling, the local entrepreneurs. It's really clean. I love the images and I love the branding and the font. And Google have just recently added a new feature as well. Up here on the right hand side, we've got a revise button. What it does, this is actually created by Nano Banana. So this is an image. We can't export this to Google Slides and then edit each thing individually. But Google has recognized this and we can click on revise. And I might want to change the title as an example from A Sanctuary for London's Dreamers to something a bit more that feels aligned to our brand. So a place for local entrepreneurs as an example. So I can pop that in there and then I can move on to the next slide and see if there's any other changes that we want to make. And if there are, we can put those suggestions in there, like change the image or put this text a bit higher. And then once we're happy with that, we can then generate a new deck and it will make all of those updates for us to get us closer to that final draft. But for now, let's leave it as it is and we'll move on to the infographic. So you're probably well rehearsed with this now. We're going to go to the infographic and click on the little edit pencil here. With the settings, we'll leave it in landscape. We want it in English. I want it quite concise. I don't want it too detailed and text heavy. And then in this box here, we'll pop in the prompt. So similar to the presenter slides, we want it to be very clean, very simple. And just to show you here, I want it to be in the style of a chalkboard. In any of these assets that we create, we can tell it the style that we want it to be. So anime, chalkboard, cartoon, photorealistic. For this example, I'll put in chalkboard to show you how that works. And then we'll click generate and we'll see what comes out. And now on the right hand side, we've got our blueprint for ambition phases. Let's open this up. We've got that chalkboard style here, which is actually quite nice. I like it. But if we want it to fit with our brand, we'd probably use that minimalist clean design that we've got in the presentation slides as well. And then it's created a nice overview of our business. Again, I'd probably change some of the wording in here. A blueprint for ambition sounds a bit corporate for our small coffee shop that we're trying to attract local entrepreneurs to. But overall, the message is great. And we can make those small tweaks in the prompts and do that again. So what we've done in this section, we've created a competitor analysis, we've created a pitch deck, and we've created an infographic, all in minutes. And can you imagine how much time it would have taken before? To recap, in a few minutes, we took scattered data and compiled a concrete competitor analysis, a structured pitch deck, a detailed brief for our infographic, and every single word generated is grounded entirely in the sources that we provided, our source of truth. We used a coffee startup as an example, but this walled garden approach applies to any project professionally or personally. If you wanted to research, like I do, what are the latest drum kits to come out, I can put in the brand websites like Pearl and DW, and I can put in my budget, and I can get it to recommend the drum kit that fits all of those things for me. And we instruct it to do it based on the sources that we give it. As you can see, AI is a powerful collaborator when you set the right boundaries. You feed it your research, you build your engine, and you watch your ideas come to life. If you found this workflow helpful, you can like and subscribe. You can also subscribe to my newsletter in the description below, where I share useful hints and tips, as well as all of the latest news in AI. And if you want to see exactly how we built the Nebula Coffee business strategy, designed the logo, and created the website from scratch, you can watch step by step by clicking on the link above to that video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.